Hey folks, I'm Vasel here, and welcome to my next best games. These are games that didn't make my top 100, but I thought I should talk about them anyway, because there's so many great games out there. And now we're into the top 200 games, so the games are going to get better and better as time goes by. So we're going to start out with number 200. Now 200 went as high as 11. I think that was the highest it's been on my list, and that is Yomi. Now, Yomi is a game I don't play as much anymore. I never was a huge fan of the artwork Yomi, but I like the concept of this playing this rock, paper, scissors against someone else. I played it. But it's really kind of fallen off the radar for me. I don't play it as much anymore, unless it dropped down here. I still think it's a great game. It's the BattleCon I think I like better. And there's a lot of two-player back and forth games that I enjoy. But I really loved Yomi for a few years. It was like 12, 13, 11 for a while. Still think it's a great game. My number 200. 199 is a new addition to the list, and that is Flip Ships. I really like Flip Ships. That's a game in which you're kind of flicking coins. It's like Space Invaders with a dexterity element. That's fantastic and a lot of fun. Really glad that I was able to play this one. I just love the idea of flicking the ships, and trying to blow ships up, and then they're coming down, and you got to hit them. It's just a really cool concept, and I also like the artwork. Number 198 is Mage Wars. Now, Mage Wars was as high as number 2 at one point. Mage Wars dropped a lot because of Mage Wars Academy, which you'll find in my top 100. And that's pretty much the reason it's fallen out. I still think Mage Wars is a great game. It's a lot of fun. The thing that drew me to it was you did not have a deck of cards. You have a spell book. You pick your spells in this game, and then you cast them each turn, and so you can like build your own deck, but then you don't have to worry about, you know, pulling the cards off, bad shuffling, whatever. Really cool concept with a big board element. That's what they took out in Mage Wars Academy, which I thought was a simpler game, but it still is a lot of fun. Mage Wars is also very, very diverse. Number 197 is Pandemic. Pandemic is a game that is slightly higher on Z's list. It is a great cooperative game, though, especially when you can see the Pandemic Legacy Season 1 and Season 2, you know, how they build on this game. There's Pandemic Cthulhu, Iberian Pandemic, there's Pandemic Rising Tide, the Pandemic Dice game. There's so many different Pandemics, but base game Pandemic, well, with an expansion or two, I like the expansions, really provides a great experience. I love the theme of it, where you were trying to stop diseases from destroying the world. That's a great theme. It's an easy one to play. It's one of the best gateway games around Pandemic. 196 is Rolling Freight. This is a game that for a while knocked out almost every other train game on my list, and I still really enjoy it. There's a lot of train games, build tracks, deliver goods. That's one of these, but this one does so by rolling dice. You're rolling some dice and then using those dice to do different actions based on the colors of those dice. You also have ways to upgrade your train, which could involve getting your own custom dice that you roll when it's time to roll. Really like that concept a lot. That's Rolling Freight. 195 is a very, very unique, interesting game, and that's Vast. Vast is a game where each person plays a different part. One person is playing a dragon, protecting treasure. Another person's playing a knight, going to get that dragon. Then another person's playing goblins, trying to stop the knight. Another person is playing, a thief, just coming in trying to steal treasure. And the fifth person's playing the cave itself, just trying to kill everyone. Really, really neat asymmetrical. There's a lot of rules to learn in the game, and it takes a while to teach people how to play it, but it's really fun. Vast. 194 is a very unique game that I think I'm one of the few people to ever talk about this one, and that is Horse Fever. Horse Fever is a horse racing game. Really short one. It looks like a drag race almost. And you roll dice each turn to see how the horses move. But some horses are going to move extra. Some are going to be hobbled because you've been messing with them. This is like the most dirty horse race there is, as you're messing with horses, helping other horses out, betting on which horses are going to win. The artwork is very Mad Magazine style. Really like this game, Horse Fever. 193 is Chaos Ball. Now, Chaos Ball from Simon and Eric Lang is basically a fighting game pretending to be a sports game. You know, you're going in there trying to grab the ball from the middle of the table and get it back to your side. Yeah, whatever. You're also tackling other people. I think there's 15 different teams for this game. They all have very distinctive feels. They're not that different. I mean, there are minor differences between them. Great miniatures. It's a lot of fun, and I like it with 2 or 4 players. Number 192 is Carcassonne the City. Now, last time I mentioned Carcassonne, but I like Carcassonne the City as my best standalone one. See, Carcassonne I have laden with all the different expansions that are possible. With Carcassonne the City, it's just one game. It's the kind of game, if I want to teach them on Carcassonne, I bring this one out. Because not only is it easier to connect the tiles, you're building this wall around the city, and the whole thing just has a really good visual look to it. And it's a seriously excellent little game, Carcassonne the City. Number 191 is Good Cop, Bad Cop. Good Cop, Bad Cop. I don't know if I have Leaders of Euphoria on my list, but I don't think I do. I would put that in the same place as this one. They're essentially the same game. Leaders of Euphoria is probably slightly better. But in this game, there's some good police officers and some bad police officers, and you're on different teams. One person's the FBI agent, one person's the secret mobster, and you are trying to take out the leader of the other team by looking at cards, figuring out who each other is. It's like a quick version of Bang the Dice game in many ways. I really like it. Then we have 190, Manhattan. Now this one may move higher when I see the new version of it coming out in Essen this week. The Manhattan is just a really beautiful stacking game as you're building towers, right? And you're building different skyscrapers in the city, and you actually are building them. So you're building on top of other people's and trying to make them lose, you're trying to control the towers in each area, but you're also trying to have the tallest tower and also having the most towers. Really great game, simple and easy, and I'm glad to see this one is coming back. 189 is Starship Catan. Now, Starship Catan is the two-player version of Starfarers of Catan, which is the space version of Settlers of Catan, or Catan now. Starship Catan, though, is a great two-player game. In fact, they made a multiplayer version of it later on, I think called Winds of Plunder might be the name of it. I don't think that's right exactly, but Z-Man did make a follow-up to this game because the idea is really neat. You have these piles of cards in between the two players. You are going through the cards, looking for different things, trading posts. You trade with those cards. You can even trade with each other. You have little resources. This little box is chock full of great things. The game has a great visual appeal to it. Really like this game, Starship Catan. 188 is a cooperative game many people don't talk about, but should, and that's Conquest of the Planet Earth. Actually, it's a cooperative or competitive game. Don't play the competitive game. The cooperative game, in which you are each aliens trying to destroy Earth, is fun. It's a campy 1950s alien style, except Earth is pretty well defended. They got tanks and even superheroes coming out to fight you, and you're this is too dangerous of an area, we'll go in here. You're trying to conquer as much as you can while surviving against these things, bringing in your own super alien special abilities. It is a lot of fun to work together in this one. That is Conquest of the Planet Earth. 187 is Pixel Tactics. Now, Pixel Tactics is a game that I really like. I think they're up to Pixel Tactics 6 at this point. There's so much for it. The game was originally a small deck of cards. Now it's like I have this much stuff of it. There's just a huge amount of it. But in this game, you are playing heroes into a grid. Where you put them in the grid shows how powerful they are. They can also be a card in your hand. So each card has multiple. It can be a leader. It can be in their front line, in the middle. It can be in the rear. It can also be a special card. That kind of variety is really neat. Back and forth. Really like this one. That's Pixel Tactics. 186 is Spectre Ops. Spectre Ops is a great one-person run. Everyone else finds that person type game. Really enjoy that style. They're actually coming out with a sequel to it this year. I think it's an expansion, standalone type thing. But in this game, one person is sneaking into a base, trying to get to different missions. Everyone else is trying to figure out where they are. Really enjoy this game. It's a lot of fun. Then we have, where are we? 1960 is my 185. 1960 is about the election that happened in 1960 between Richard Nixon and John F. Kennedy. There was just a re-release of this game from GMT. It is a great re-release. You should check it out. In this game, you are trying to control the states. It's a really good way to learn the electoral system of voting, and you're working on different states and different areas, and also in the media, getting ready for the big TV debate that they had. A lot of theme. It's a nicer, gentler version of Twilight Struggle, but it still is back and forth. Really excellent game. 1960. Number 184 is On the Underground. This is a game that's not talked about very often. It's a game that takes place in the subway of London, and in this there's one passenger in the game, and you're all trying to get that passenger to go to different cities to match cards, you get points. But you do that by having him use your subway lines. Each player is going to control 2 or more subway lines, and so the more you can make him use your subway lines, because he's a lazy passenger and will take the easiest route, so you want to make your subway lines as easy of a route for him as possible. It is a fantastic game on the Underground, but I think it's best with 2 or 3 players. Number 183 is Sentinels of the Multiverse. I still remember the first time I saw this. I was amazed by it. Just this superhero game that was at the forefront of all. There's a lot of great modern superhero games now, but this one was at the forefront and didn't even build on its own universe. Didn't use Marvel or DC. It was its own thing, and that's great. Really like this cooperative game. So many combinations of heroes and bad guys you can do. Just a lot of fun. 182 is Paperback. Paperback is a mix between Dominion and Scrabble, which sounds like it should not even come close to working, and yet it does. There's actually a sequel of sorts to it called Hardback, which I haven't played yet, but Paperback, I like it because I like the deck building aspects. My wife likes it because of the word building aspect. You mix those two together, and it's a really solid little game. And then the last one we're talking about this time is going to be Cutthroat Caverns, which has been on my lists for years. Cutthroat Caverns, in fact, I have the newest expansion that I need to try out for it. Cutthroat Caverns is a game in which you are going through a dungeon. Silly fun, fighting monsters. Well, the monsters are actually not so silly. They're very serious monsters. But what you do to the monsters is silly, as you are all trying to kill the monsters together. But if only one person can win, so if a couple people fall by the side of the road, it is what it is. It's a semi-cooperative game. I'm usually not a fan of that genre. This is one of my favorites in it. This one, it works with the right group. And also some of the expansions are really helpful, but I like it a lot. That's Cutthroat Caverns. Well, that's the end of this list, folks. Thanks so much for watching the Next Best Games. I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.